Hello, my name is Frances Fox, and I'm a trained remote viewer. All my psychic skills have been trained since I was a child, this being in a secret program that has yet to be declassified. Yes, I was trained to be a psychic spy and a lot of other things, none of which I would have agreed on, nor was I compensated for. But the truth of the matter is that if you're going to be looking for the root cause of things, you need to widen your lens, and it cannot be limited to this incarnation, because if not, the life that I led until now has been totally unfair, doesn't make any sense, and it means that life is garbage. If you widen the lens and look at the life that I've led, and a lot of us have led, that has been very difficult, and you widen it to the end and what's going to come next and what built up into it, then you go, well, that makes sense. It's very difficult for people like me that have really, and it's taken a lot of years for me to integrate the reincarnation concepts, which is transmigration of souls, to people that are much more intellectual. It's hard to accept too many things that are happening. Too many things don't have a proper explanation. And once you integrate the information of transmigration of souls or reincarnation or past lives, things start to make a lot more sense, and they're a lot more fair. Like right now, we're on the verge of wars. Republicans, Democrats, Jews, Palestinians, Ukrainians, Russia, the United States, China. Well, I have a friend in particular who hates China and just hates China. She loves Chinese culture. She was Chinese in a previous lifetime. But when you limit yourself to what we're taught here, which is this lifetime, then that's okay. But once you widen your lens, it's like it's a little bit of silliness. But it's only silliness if your belief system is in tune with what has been known since the beginning of mankind, and which basically every religion accepts, except for Catholicism. And then everything makes more sense. First place, some people need to be poor in this incarnation. Some people need to be rich. Some people need to be Chinese. Some people need to be Jewish. It's a process. And so once you start to go against somebody, when your lens is wide enough, you're really maybe going against something that you were in the past or going to be in the future, if reincarnation continues, which apparently it may not. So what are we going to do today? Today we are going to work on creating peace, because there's so many fronts in which there can be war. What is that all about? I have some notes. Human memory is a curse. Many, many years ago, I walked away from my computer, and when I came back to my computer, there were a couple of paragraphs written about the Great Flood and about the fact that that is in human memory, because past lives exist. You were there before or after, whatever. And that memory is a trauma. It creates what's called a vasana, V-A-S-A-N-A, which creates karma. So at that time, everybody was very worried about catastrophes and very worried about a great flood. That would have been like 30 years ago. Today, we have other things that we worry about more than that. But at that time, what that write-up was saying is, if we don't purify that from our collective mind, basically we create it again. Such as, if you have had a parent die, let's say your father died when you were a child, under 13 or 14, that creates a trauma, the vasana, which creates karma. That means that the chances are really high that you're going to lose if you have a mate that's male, you're going to lose a male mate. If you have a child, there's much more of a chance of that child passing before you, because you have loss of a male that you loved. You have karma with it that you established at the beginning of this lifetime, which probably is a continuation previously. Okay, you can clear that with a mantra. Please God help me with my intention to miraculously purify the trauma of the loss of my father. And you just keep going, and at one point you won't be able to say the words. That means that you release those mind strings that hang on to that trauma, so it can't repeat. You cleared the karma. So how about the karma the trauma of the Great Flood, we don't seem to be that worried about it, but we certainly are worried about war. My God, do you know how many wars we've been through in all of our lifetimes? Or even like today, how many potential there is for war? So our mind is holding on to this, and that creates a wave that sets up the creation of the reality of it to repeat. We have a very hard time conceiving that we could possibly get through this time without there being a major war that wipes out millions of people. We can't see it. You have to be able to see something to be able to create it. So we can't create peace unless we actively work on it, because we have so much that pushes us in the direction of war, which is our own human memory. And then we look at the news, and then the anger at this particular group, the other particular group, all of that. So what do we need to do about that? We need to actively create peace. We can't just wish for it. It's not wishful thinking, but it needs to be worked. There's work to be done. And it's not that hard. And it takes a heck of a lot less time than it takes for you to look at the news and to see god-awful news about what's going on so horrible in the world, and all the worrying that you do about your bank account and your kids and all the rest of that. But we're not used to creating reality because we never really believed that our intention creates reality, and we haven't understood it. That's why we're doing this Monday through Friday, in order to get you used to understanding how you're creating. Your mood has everything to do with what you're able to create. We're all in a terrible mood. Every time we start these chats, whether it's this one at 7 or the one at 8:15, this is how we start. Everybody is massively depressed. I'm not sure that there was an exception to this. But then, as we continue doing the different mantras, we end up with all sorts of interesting things coming up, including last night, to where we have the protection of the triangle, and our children and family are drawn into that protection. But we start like this. We have to address this depression in the mind streams first. Not so hard. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to deal with that, and then we're going to go and do the intention mantra for creating peace, which has to do with purifying the hate and the fear. The peace is very conceptual. Causal, hate and fear. So we go for that. But right now we're going to do the mood thing to address your mood, which makes your mind streams really draggy, unable to create something that requires a little bit of work, such as creating peace in the midst of all of this chaos. There's a little bit of work involved because there's too much that's already created that's kind of saying to you, you're not going to be able to do this. Yes, you can do it. And by the way, I want to remind you again that today, for the first time in the history of the planet, we can have an individual reality totally contrary to everybody around us. So the whole world can go down in flames and you can be fine. And we are working on giving you a whole protocol having to do with that, believe it or not, based on the realization that came with a particular object that somebody who's written a lot of books had, a symbol that is from not this planet, and the labs that looked at it was on a ring said that that was not a material that was from here, and there were symbols on it, and it had to do with a space where you could create reality, a little bit like the Indian medicine wheel, which is where they give you a healing, but they set an area, a space in which they do that, and it's easier to recreate the reality. So let's go ahead and do the mantra, which is a purification mantra, which is like a vacuum cleaner. It is an affirmation that, yes, you are depressed. This is not the one. We're missing one particular word that we need. Here it is. We're missing broken heart, which we all have, no question. a second, and we will get there. Here we go. I'm going to choose the music that has to do with the energy center, which is called a chakra, that has to do with where hate is generated, which is in the liver. So we're going to use that mantra. And I was going to tell you something else. Give me a second and see if I can draw that back. Okay, I'm not remembering. The mantras are repeated in silence. You expel the breath through your mouth. This is an affirmation that even though you hate, your heart is broken, and you want to die, you still love yourself. It's actually the same concept as the Catholic confession, except it's much easier and much more effective because it includes breath and you have to say it multiple times. And I'm going to sketch you before you start. And then we're going to sketch you when we finish this particular part of this event today. And you can see the difference. So you need to get used to taking care of your depression before you walk into an interview, before you meet with the shareholders, before you speak to somebody where it's important, before you make an important decision. You need to deal with these issues, which are kind of universal today. The three of them: the anger, the broken heart, the depression, which is the want to die. And then you are more clear in your assessment, and perhaps your decisions will be different. And absolutely, what it is that you want to create, you can create more easily because your mind streams, which are what create reality, are not bogged down with literal nanoparticles of astral emotions of depression, which in the future are going to be measured. You're going to go to a doctor and he's going to say, no wonder your liver is bad. You have 250 units of fire element in your liver and you're only supposed to have less than 50. They'll be measuring the particles of emotion and associating it with how much of that particular emotion can make you sick in that particular organ. You should start to learn about the energy centers called chakras, because when you get sick, you go to the doctor and they tell you what you have. They give you a name. This is what you have. And all they did was, I'm going to be very sarcastic, and they're so proud that they got a group of symptoms and they put a name on it. Well, you know what? Don't be so proud of that. What is that? Well, you have diabetes. Most people don't even know what organ is affected when they have diabetes. That has something to do with sugar. Yes, it does have to do with sugar, but at a causal level, it has to do with the lack of happiness in your life. And the day you choose, the day you accept within yourself that you're never going to be happy, you just know it. It goes from diabetes to pancreatitis. And that organ is in the solar plexus, the one that we have the therapy video on right now. If you can find out what organ is affected by your disease, you can find what energy center it's from. And then you start to read up on it and you find out so much. When it comes to homeopathy, if a homeopath recommends a particular remedy and you read what it's for, you're going to go, oh my God, they're describing me. Yes, because homeopathic remedies go to the root cause, which most of the time has to do with a distorted and congestion of emotions in different parts of your body, organs, etc. So when you scratch the surface and go deeper, and don't just take, oh yeah, put the label on yourself and then take the medicine that's recommended for that group of symptoms. We don't want that. What organ is it? And then you go to doing the mantra, and you will usually find out what trauma happened that initiated this, maybe even 30 and 40 years ago. But that's not what we're here for today. I tend to be very ADD. And go ahead and start the mantra. You repeat it. You expel the breath through your mouth. You can do the Apana Mudra, the two center fingers with the thumb, and put this on top of your thighs. And we're going to do 10 minutes, and I will show you the sketch. I will do it immediately after putting on the music, and then I'll show it to you again when we finish 10 minutes of this purification process. Okay, we started with this, and now we got this. So your mind streams are now the color they're supposed to be. Your third eye is waking up, which happens when people are in my presence. I have augment their psychic abilities. But what's that? And the words waiting, waiting. So I have news from the other dimensions for you. I've been watching myself for many years when I give this kind of information. And it's always like apprehensive that because it's weird information or future information that I'll end up looking bad, but that's not real important. This eye is something that I started to see years ago over people's beds. Basically at the time when people started with the insomnia, because I don't know if you remember, but a decade and a half ago, very few people had insomnia. People slept through the night. I remember because I didn't sleep through the night for decades due to the stresses. And I remember one day I was at a party or something and somebody said, "Oh my God, the dog barked last night and I wasn't able to get back to sleep." And I went, "I don't understand." She said, "No, I woke up because of the dog barking and I couldn't get back to sleep." I said, "But don't you wake up all night long continuously?" And everybody looked at me and said, "No, that was years ago." Okay. People used to sleep well. So I saw that eye over people's beds. And then the eye started to drop in to the people whose beds it was over, which was basically almost everybody. That's depression. But that's not the news. That's old news. The news is that Yesterday at 2:17 in the morning, there was a crack someplace on planet Earth, and millions of beings, and this represents a being, a spirit, came into the planet ready to possess human bodies. Now, law of attraction, can't get away from it. This is depression. It's going to come in where people are very depressed. I don't understand why it's not red. It seems to me like there's more anger, but I'm giving the news, not making the news. So the trick here is that in all the chats, everybody's showing up. Not everybody. I'm sure there's some. This is a collective sketch. I'm sure there's some that are not that way. But basically in every chat, this is the way we start. So that I is going to be able to jump in at some point. That I is waiting very patiently for some major event to where we all go, oh my God, that's it. It's over. From here until the end, we're not going to be. They're waiting for that, to go into that acceptance of that darkness. And they're going to come in, at which time what the Mayans said, the dolphins said, and the Bible said about the zombies is going to kick in from one day to the next. So this taking care of mood, this doing this mantra, excuse me, I got the hiccups, is critical. You have got to handle your depression. Maybe you're handling your rage well. Maybe you're doing the rage mantra and using the music video that has the glaciers. I don't know. Or maybe you're expressing enough anger. Or you're into overactivity and you're using up. I don't know. What's going to take us down is the depression, which I didn't foresee that. But being it that you're all showing up like this, and this is waiting, we're going to have a problem. But the solution is deal with your mood. Don't get a divorce. Don't quit your job. Don't kick your kid out. Deal with how you feel. Emote. And you can do it by saying or by writing. We're doing the mantra, which is the elegant way to do it. Process that. And then whatever it is you need to do, you need to do. Go ahead and do it or don't do it or wait till later, whatever. Or create an intention to recreate that, whatever. But purify the negative emotions. And at this point, it's the depression needs to be taken care of. And it needs to be taken care of now. Not to when you can afford to go to therapy and talk. And talk takes forever to change this. When you do a mantra, look how quickly you changed. And the next sketch, I'm sure those mind streams are not going to be droopy. You know, like when you feel down, it's because the mind streams are down. Okay. What we discovered in the chat last night, which is really a continuation of many chats. Okay. How did this planet end? We are in an ascension process. You don't have to accept it. You can just listen. Ascension is when your vibration gets lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter because you've left behind the heaviness of the astral particles, the memories, the spirits that are attached, the traumas, etc. It's okay if you don't understand that or believe that. So we're in an ascension process. Okay, we're also at war. Ascension, war. I'm not sure that this is not being created to stop the ascension process. Okay. So human memory is a big problem. Okay, so what do we have good in our human memory having to do with ascension? Nothing. Nothing. Zero. Because nobody other than the Mayans has ascended gracefully. Or maybe even ascended at all. The Atlanteans should have gone into an ascension process. They didn't. They went into a collapse. And we are basically where the Atlanteans were, in the sense that the Atlanteans had technology, up here, ethics, down here. Okay, and that's what destroyed that civilization. Well, where are we at today? Technology up here, ethics down here, same thing. But it can end differently. It can end well if we could figure out what the Mayans did, because they ascended gracefully. We've been doing that mantra in the Mantrisa group for several years already and trying to figure out what did they do. And here we go into something sad, which I just realized. I've been wanting to do a documentary about the Mayans would be faced with the ascension process in the middle of the messes that humans have. And they left us guides. They left us information to help us so that we can do what they did. Problem was that the Spaniards came and they burned down the libraries and they killed the culture and etc. But the Mayans were no dummies. We already know that. Our scientists know that. They put information in crystals and they hid it in pyramids. They could have hidden it also other places, I don't know. So there's a particular place in northern Guatemala, and I've never been into pyramids and not into any of that stuff. I just have known for 30 years the Mayans did it gracefully. We need to figure out what did they do. There's a particular place in Guatemala called El Mirador, which is a Mayan city, but it turns out that there are several Mayan cities in that jungle. And scientists have been saying they don't understand how these huge megalopolis are in that jungle and nobody saw it. How's that possible? And they're like, what? They also don't know what happened to the Mayans generically. And the last report that came back from a scientific team, which was in December 2023, because they were thinking it was maybe a drought, that's how they just disappeared from one day to the next. And they came back and they said there was no drought and there was no famine. So we still don't know what happened to the Mayans. The Mayans ascended gracefully. How did they do that? They tried to leave us information. They actually did. That information apparently is in several places, but one of the places that it was in is in El Mirador, these pyramids in northern Guatemala that we just discovered. That's the question mark. How could we not have seen it before? It turns out that what they did was they did black magic. They have that information there in northern Guatemala, probably other places, and they did a ritual in which they sacrificed 17 Mayan souls, attached their spirits, which is what they do when you do those kind of curses, to the black magic. And their job was to hide those cities or that city so that it could be preserved until now. Not coincidentally, because of my intense intention to know what happened to the Mayans, to be able to get that information out there so that we can repeat what they did, I ended up meeting it may have been 5 of those souls that were sacrificed reincarnated. One of them does our Mantrista music, which is going to win awards. It's what you're listening to. He's incredible. Mateo Cuaron. And 3 others that have ended up working with me in different situations. It turns out that the Mayans, from when the children were born, trained them to work with respect and become one with their spirit. We know today that when you die, your physical body, your spirit sometimes astral travels. Okay. And sometimes when you die, people can actually see the spirit separating from the physical body, or the spirit will show up at the funeral. Okay. Nobody says, well, if you astral travel, supposedly your whole life, you don't remember practically ever, and then the spirit separates for the last time when your physical body dies, what is it doing all the rest of that time? It's doing a lot of things, but we are not trained to be in touch with that. The Mayans, since the children were born, were trained to integrate with and work with their spirit. So when the moment came for ascension, there was no battle. There was no battle. Right now, everybody's dizzy, foggy memory, ringing in the ears, which is not that big a deal. But other things, and we're fighting the process tooth and nail because we don't know what's going on. Most people don't know what's going on. There is a few that are embracing it, but I'm not sure they're embracing their spirit, which is really what's ascending, because it's not the physical body that's ascending. Are we going to lose it or not lose it? I have no idea. I'm not going to go there. I have no idea. The point of the matter is that if we can get this information about the Mayans out to the general public, something they can hang their hat on. At this point, practically nobody except for me and my followers understands how important it is that there was a group of people that did the ascension process gracefully. And that we need to see what it is that they did, and they would want us to have that information so that this can happen again. So, why am I telling you this? Because these beings are here to stop the ascension process. They don't invade the physical body. They invade your spirit and the other energy bodies. And you don't even know you have one. You just know that, hey, I supposedly astral travel at night. And when I die, my spirit releases or separates or walks away from my physical body. You don't know anything else. You don't even know that when they say, may the force be with you, they're talking about that spirit. And that's what we need to do. And that spirit is your astral emotional body. Emotions, here we go again with the whole thing with the traumas. So that was a lot. And I'm not sure I explained it as systematically as I would have wanted to. So we have a new enemy, millions of them that came in yesterday, the 21st of April, 2024 at 2:17, I think, in the morning. And they're waiting. Because if you get depressed enough or if you get frightened enough, your spirit separates from your physical body. You're not even that in touch with it anyway. You didn't even know that you had a spirit 24/7 since conception. So not that big a deal. It is a big deal because it has a space in you. And that space, when it leaves, this is what's going to come in. Moods are very important because it is a mood that will make you lose control of your assemblage of bodies and make you vulnerable to possession and invasion. So we're better. I gave you the information. We're better. So let's go ahead now and let's do the world peace mantra. So that's the bad news and the good news mixed in, but a little bit iffy. The good news is that when you do the peace mantra, miracle of miracles, you end up inside a canopy or a pyramid that's Nile green, that is your reality. So the rest of the planet can explode. And if you're in that pyramid or that canopy, you're not going to get affected. And this is not going to come in. And you get that when you are asking for world peace, which is fascinating because who would have thought? Part of that process is that what you create, which is your entire life, your children, your grandkids, all of that ends up inside that triangle also. So basically, in working with the age of Aquarius, which is community, we're all in this together, with that mantra, which we're going to put up now, you create a protection for your creations, for you and your creations, which include your kids, which was very important to my group because most of us are mothers. And the whole thing about what happens with the kids, what happens with my family, my sister, it's taken care of. Now, we didn't have that here, But we did have it yesterday. Hold on, let me show you what it looks like. There's your triangle, and those are family. Yes, those are spaceship. Listen, if I cannot give you what I see, even if I know it's triggering and you are, what? Who does she think? What? Come on. If I don't give you that, basically, I'm not doing for you what I need to do for you. Your belief system is a problem because it's really limited. I am sure that practically nobody that is listening to this chat can really wrap their head around this, because now they're figuring out, well, I astral travel, so where's my spirit the rest of the time? You didn't even know that. And that's the gift of the Mayans, to say, you need to find out what's going on with your astral body, which is your emotional body, which means, what are you doing with your emotions? Well, they told us in business, leave it at the door. Leave your emotions at the door. If you're too emotional, they can classify you as mentally ill. No. Can't have all of that. Okay, let's go into the World Peace Mantra, and I'll sketch you. And again, information is power. Your belief systems, school, religion, family, there's a set of it. I suggest you drop it and just listen to information and let it float. And if it's the truth, it's not going to go away. And if people can get off their cell phones and stop looking at so much news, they're going to get in touch with the energies that are moving on the planet, which are very spiritual, which means other dimensional, where you have several bodies. I'll put them up on screen very quickly, and then we have to go to the mantra, because I've done a bit too much talking today. You have all those bodies, including the one at the right, which is the Merkaba. That's an energy body. It's an envelope of consciousness that you are a nectar, and you get poured into those bodies via the strings, string theory. Okay, let me go ahead and find the peace mantra, which is not that. And there you go. Okay. Wouldn't this be interesting if I don't have the peace mantra in here? We must have done it. Okay. Hold on. Unbelievable that we have not done that for this length of time. Okay, so here's the mantra. I'll have to write it. This is the peace mantra. This is the peace mantra. It doesn't say anything about peace. It goes deeper. What it is that's causal for war, which is hate and fear. Without hate and fear, there is no war. So we're going to change the music to the music that works on the mind strings, and which is the music that creates incredible changes, which is called trilling, which is the frequency of the mind strings. And let's go ahead. We're only going to be able to do 10 minutes, but I had to give you all of that news. Okay, I did something wrong. I gave you news after you purified the depression, and that news made you angry. So to go into the peace mantra now doesn't make any sense because you have a mood, a congestion of anger that is. So we are going to go back to the previous mantra and do that and change that out of that red. And if we can change it quickly, then we're going to use the rest of the minutes for the fear and hate mantra. Give me a second. Let me go back and find it. Okay, because we don't, this trying to reduce fear and hate with this feeling doesn't work. And that's what we need to do. We need to be appropriate in our responses. So we're going to leave the same music. Okay. Okay, you went to here. These are pink mind streams. There's some love coming towards me. Your third eye is much bigger. You're still depressed, but the quality is different. And this is a dinosaur. Now, what are dinosaurs? The original owners of planet Earth are called Nagas, Nagas. And throughout history, they come through as reptilian alligators, crocodiles, dragons in feng shui, dinosaurs at one time in the planet. They were dinosaurs. They own planet Earth. They own the land, the earth. They are here defending human evolution, and they will do things that are very aggressive, the dragons, to defend human evolution. But other than when they have to defend against something bad happening, they're very helpful. Now, they have shown up now. You got angry at me because I gave you news you didn't want to hear. Okay, but I can't monitor the news, and it'll be just like the government. You got upset, but you worked it a teeny bit, and then you felt love, and this vibration brings in spiritual help, which puts you in the position of being in the middle of a mythological story. Mythology is the history of humans when they had access to superpowers and they actually had relationships with off-planet beings, and they fought with them, and the off-planet beings came in with unreasonable requests, such as you have to kill a percentage of your population for us to leave you alone, ... So I think something happened in this chat, and I'm not happy with this chat, but something happened that was good. There was a mental adjustment. Now, the truth has a way of kind of staying, it creates like an anchor. And I think that what I told you is true. I mean, even science says what happened to the Mayans. Well, they did something incredible. And we need to get even more details. But even with what we have today, it's enough to be able to help people. And the main thing is that you have got to flow with the age of Aquarius energies, which is community, no war, we're all brothers and sisters. And you reinforce your commitment to this established, what should be the established order with that particular mantra. And in that way, you end up getting that pyramid of protection. And I'm going to stop talking, and we're going to call it quits now because I'm really tired, and this is not easy. I have a university degree. I have been respected. I've run a multi-million-dollar business. I do very well in what I do. I'm good at what I do, and it's really hard to give information and to know that most of the people are looking at me like, why? Who the hell is she? How does she know? And she can't prove. It's really hard to do that because we are in a crisis. And that crisis has to do with the fact that we did not do what the Mayans did. We paid zero attention to our spirit, which is the one that keeps living when the physical body dies. We pay zero attention. Oh, a little ritual when the baby's born. Oh, another little ritual when the person dies. No, that's not enough. And then your physical body has a zero consciousness, can do nothing without the spirit, and we've paid no attention. And we're paying a very severe price. And I'm paying a price in the sense that I have to deliver information without being able to give you a very neatly tied package that you're going to accept. But if I can get your moods to shift to where you feel better, then you will know what it is that I'm talking about, because the part of you that's feeling better is that spirit part of you. And you can detach from that spirit part of you and be just fine. It's called disassociation. And in the original Lord's Prayer in Aramaic that did not go through Greek hands, it doesn't say, deliver us from evil. It doesn't say that. It says, help us to be in the present, which means not disassociated. So we didn't get a lot of help from our religions because there's a lot of distortion. Is it purposeful? It doesn't really matter. What's important is that you get the truth. You get it right so that you can have a graceful ascension process like the Mayans. Because you see, you're not going to be able to do anything about the war. But I think that the war is a game being played by spirits that know an awful lot and don't show their faces so that we don't dedicate our time to the ascension process. Okay, so that's it. I'm calling it quits tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow. And thank you for joining us.